And here we go. Here's the LC tuner. They called it an L match, but if you noticed before, I had a parallel inductance here. Here's what the feed point of this Yagi looks like. You have a parallel inductance, a series capacitance. We go here to the first tuner, and I have a parallel capacitance and a series inductance, just the opposite of what the feed point is. So by varying the amount of inductance, varying the amount of capacitance, I can counteract or offset all of the reactive component of that Yagi-Uda feed point. So I get a fully resistive, purely resistive input. So that's the simplest. But it's not always the best. Now the T-match, we're actually going just the opposite, because this is for another kind of antenna, which has just the opposite. This would be no good for the Yagi-Uda. You couldn't tune out the reactive components with this tuner. The pi match over here is how they matched the final tube, or from a linear amplifier into your antenna, is how they use the pi match.
Kevin?
Yo.
Like in the ICOMs, the 756, what tuner do you guys know? Which one are those?
Hold on. It's probably this. It's called a pi L. And it's actually the pi tuner with added inductance.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Because they do have a variable inductor and variable capacitor.
Okay, this is a B and W tuner, but it looks like it is a pi capacitor, and then a stepped inductor.
BMW?
B and W.
Barker and Williamson?
Somebody had, is that off the state kit?
Yeah, Barker and Williamson.
Oh, okay. They make those fancy antennas that don't work all that great.
Well, this is an antenna tuner.
Those folded dipoles with the resistor.
Yeah, they work on all sorts of bands, but not very well anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I get out better with the infinite half wave.
They're a compromise antenna for a lot of users.
And that's it. They're a compromise.
It's a compromise.
Just like G5RP.
Yeah.
For everybody.
It's actually over first.
And if you'll notice, this LC tuner is this LC tuner. This was designed by Steve Weber from New Hampshire, KD5ONS. He also designed the radio that's in here. He's a popular QRP designer, but he made this for field work of this goes on your rig, and this goes to your counterpoise and to your antenna. And inside of here is a little Wheatstone bridge tuner designed by Dan Talo. So what you do is you dip this by turning the capacitor, and there's little computer jumpers in here. You can't really see, but
I see the SIP pins.
right
there.
here, computer jumpers, those little jumper pins, go across these. You're shorting out the inductors, or you're putting it into circuit by adding them or taking them away. And the variable capacitor, you can add extra capacitance, so you have both of these. Or if you pull that off, you're just using the one capacitor. And you can get rid of it's just an LC tuner, but it's all manual. The Talo mixer, or the Talo, this is a bridge circuit, and what you're doing is you're tuning. You flip the switch up here so it goes into tune mode. You send a tuning signal about 1/10 of a watt from the transmitter, and then you vary this until this LED goes either out or it gets as dim as possible. So you've matched across the Wheatstone bridge, so the reactance of your circuit has got mostly gone away or totally gone away. Let's see. And the pi tuner is very simple again. But the problem with these is variable inductors. As you can tell back here, he used fixed inductors, and he used either switches or, in this case, little jumpers to short them out of circuit or pull them to add them into circuit. And he had a variable capacitor. Variable inductors are expensive or they're non-existent. So that's why I took so much time to make the Z-match tuner, because I used a variable capacitor to act like a variable inductor. Let's see. There. What happens is, here's the variable capacitor part of the LC tuner. But when I take a variable capacitor and put it in parallel with a variable inductor, I'm basically adding or subtracting inductance. So I'm varying that inductance by using a capacitor. So it's cheaper because I can find variable capacitors much more cheaply than I can variable inductors. It's also much lighter, which is really good because this radio was built as a per pound radio. I get more pounds, more points in a contest for being light as possible. If you're less than a pound, you get a multiplier. If you're greater than a pound, well, they subtract and you have a divider.
This doesn't count the battery, huh?
No, it counts everything. Everything up to the antenna. The keyer, the headphone, the batteries,
Oh, everything.
except the antenna and the feed line.
You run that on 9 volts now?
I'm running that on, what is that?
Looks like, what do you got?
Well,
Double A's?
12 volts.
12 volt, double A's?
I could run it on 9 volts, but this lasts longer
Yeah, just curious.
because the contests are 12 hours. And if you replace the batteries, you get charged for the weight of both sets of batteries.
What if you use a rechargeable battery? The
charger, the solar cell, if you use a computer to log, the weight of the computer gets added in.
Oh, that's why you want to get one of those little like
One piece of paper.
Well, if you'll notice, I have 3x5 cards and a golf pencil. Let's see now. We are up to pi tuners, pi L tuners. This is if you need a little bit more inductance. So, or you can actually put a tap in the middle of your variable inductor and use as 2 inductors. Let's see now. A T tuner. I should actually be reading some of my notes. Back here, the pi tuner. The pi tuner is a low-pass filter. It can be used to attenuate harmonics that are coming out of your rig. So you can save some weight on your rig by not putting so many filters in the final. And with your tuner, which is a little bit lighter than this, you can filter out your harmonics, the higher order harmonics. Lower order harmonics we get passed right through because this is a low pass filter. But when we get to a T tuner, this is problematic because this is a, what is it? It's just the opposite. It's a high pass filter. So all the higher order harmonics come right straight through. And the FCC could be knocking on your door, or you get a little pink card from your OO observer. What is that?
official observer?
Yes. And you don't really want to collect pink cards. And they get really upset with chirp and buzz. And if your CW sounds like spark gap, they get upset. I don't know, purists.
You have to hear you first.
And they think the keying should be perfect. I don't know. A little bit of key click is all right. Chirp is fine. And this is another favorite of mine. This is an LC. It's got a slight balun in there because you can change your impedance. So from high impedance or low impedance by adding in. This, in effect, is acting as a voltage balun. And you're just switching between what your input is or what type of antenna. Over here you have the Talo bridge circuit again. It's become very popular and it's very, very simple. In fact, it is right here, or where did that other tuner wind up? It's in that circuit too. You can see that circuit in there in that box. The in-fed half-wave tuner is popular because it's very simple and allows the use of an in-fed or a half-wave wire which needs no feed line to operate. That means all the power that's coming out of the tuner is going directly into the antenna and it's not heating up all your feed line. we talked about the Z-Mash tuner.